My grandparents moved to Baytown from Cove during the Depression, and so they had two girls, and both of them attended Goose Creek schools. My mother was a brigadier at the school, and I think my aunt was too, but they both were brigadiers. And that's been my main connection, just knowing people who were here. But I didn't go to school in Goose Creek. I began my career in Goose Creek schools in 1968 at Travis Elementary with Mr. Leon Legler. And I was with Mr. Legler until he retired many years later. And then Jep Bush came to Travis as the principal. I was with Jep for 2 years and enjoyed that as well. And then Crockett was opened, a new school, the first new school in many years. And so I was chosen to be one of the teachers at Crockett. And so I went over there, and that was Dick Hallam was the principal there. I was with Dick for 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. Then I went to Carver Elementary as the assistant principal with Billy Hinton. And then after a few years there, I came back to Crockett as the assistant principal. And during that time, Dick was promoted to the administrative area. And so then I became the principal at Crockett, and I was the principal at Crockett for 8 years. And then when the problems happened with Carver, with the oil coming up out of the ground from an old tank that was beginning to leak, then they asked me if I would go to Carver because the principal that was there had resigned. And so they asked me after 1 year if I would go to Carver. And I said yes, and because I thought if the principal or your boss asked you to do something, you did it. And so I went there to Carver, and I was at Carver then for 7 years, I believe it was, and retired in 2003 after 35 years in Goose Creek. My first year at Carver as principal was very difficult, probably the most difficult year of my life. It was definitely the most difficult year. It was the hardest year because not only was it a new school that I was going to, but also because it was, we were all over town. The different classes were in different locations, 5 or 6 different locations around town. And my office was at the local credit union at that time. We had a different schedule from the other schools. We didn't begin until 9 o'clock, so we had that part going on. Then we didn't dismiss until after all the buses had returned, I suppose, because once they, at about 4 o'clock, I'm not sure if that's quite right, but around 4 o'clock we were dismissed. So our day was just the same length, but it started later and ended later. I had a really great team there, though. That was the salvation for me. There was a great team at the old Carver building, and different places where we were. That year I scrounged around and got lots of furniture for different teachers at different places. My librarian was a wonderful librarian, Karen Robertson. She took books all over town. She had, one day she was here and one day she was there. She had them in the back of her car, so she moved a lot of books around through the year. It was a hard year for all of us, but at the end of the year we felt like we were a team again, and felt very good about it. And then the next year they moved us all over to the Kilgore Center, and we were able to be on one site. We were there for 5 years, I believe, until we built a new school at the old site of Horace Mann, and the rest is history.